I will be chatting with the political leader of the Progressive Democratic Patriots, and of course that's none other than Mr. Watson Duke, as we discuss some of the things that are happening within the space, as well as some of the intentions of the party going forward. Because as you know, right now there's a lot of talk in the air, there's a lot of things happening on the ground politically, where we're seeing various political parties, starting to hit the ground and started to ready to prepare for the general elections in 2025, as well as the THA elections. So a special good morning and welcome to you, Mr. Duke. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning, Kandace. The pleasure is mine to be here. This is like home.
It's great to have you.
Yes.
Now, I want to get started with just speaking about your intentions, the PDP's intentions going forward. Now, of course, you have previously expressed your willingness to go for the general elections and the THA elections again. Tell me about just what are you doing right now? How are you going forth with working the ground, campaigning, getting the party together, getting candidates? What's going on?
Right. Well, the Progressive Democratic Patriots is more than just one person. I'm the political leader and the founder, but we have an executive team still in place, and we have taken on a national interest, not just Tobago's interest, a national interest, because Tobago is part of a larger, picture called Trinidad and Tobago. And in order to make a serious dent in the place where laws are made, we will have to win those 2 seats. Unless we win those 2 seats, Tobago will continue being a lazy boy, just tagging along, not knowing whether it's going to be able to have more persons employed or not. And so those 2 seats are very important for us. I've always said that. I'm interested in going down there to fix things so Tobago could be a better place. And this is a great opportunity. My team has a particular plan in place that we are working religiously. And come August, you're going to see the biggest political campaign launch I've ever seen in Tobago. Big. And they will know that the same sun that does set does rise again on time.
What can you tell us about what you are planning for August?
Well, whenever the PDP comes, we are always welcome. And so you could expect us to come good and to come well and to set the trajectory for office, which is heading to the office of, representing Tobago. I want to speak that way. Well, we are not going with any amalgamation as to say with the UNC or the PNM. The PDP continue to hold its own, as always. Anyone is free to come and join us and to align themselves with us. We will have no problem with that, but we remain focused on our agenda and our mandate. That is very clear.
And will you be trying to join or partner with anybody else here in Tobago, any political party?
Not really. I think I have had some discussions with Father Augustine, and I said to him clearly, now it's time for us to put Tobago first. I say I've allowed you, without even beating you down, to really do your stuff, and very little has been achieved. I say it's time for us to put Tobago first. I say you cannot wait until election day come to recognize you have lost, but you have also murky the water so that no one wins. We have to fight to win Tobago first. And I think that he's quite understanding, and I'm looking forward to perhaps see his discussion with his colleagues and a response. But when we speak again, I'm always open that Tobago could win. Based on his answer, I will know how to progress. But I just want to remind Tobago that in January, when there was 6-6, because Watson Duke, he came up with the idea that we should work a partnership with the PNM, since that is 6-6, and we will allow Tracy Davison or whosoever she wishes to be chief secretary to become chief secretary, and we would have a deputy and finance. But again, they were very clear about what they felt in their heart, and they said, no, we reject that. and they continue, much to their own demise. All of them who were there, not one of them won a seat. Not one of them who were there won a seat. And so I also place a very similar situation with the chief secretary. And I said to him, I said, look, I have no problem working with you. But if we have to, the politics is a different thing. We'll have to work on the politics. But before we can get even to become politically friendly, people must be able to see us working together and to see that I am able to make a difference in the lives of Tobagonians.
And what was your idea of what that working together would look like?
I don't want to say much. We came up with a particular situation. We has under consideration. And I wouldn't say much about that details. Save and except that they're talking about they're open to coalitions on the papers today. And I just felt that I should say that I'm not looking for a coalition with my colleague. Right? I'm just saying to him that we have to work together. If he has an interest in Tobago, he has to work together, because clearly on his own, he's not being successful at any good thing that Tobago demands of him. And I feel that with my advice and my experience, I could still assist, because to me, Tobago is suffering. And when Tobago suffers, all of us are losers. None of us could say we're a winner. All right? But I will not try to tear him down and stand up on his head and rubbish him. That's for the opposition to do. I will not do that. That's their job. However, I will try to bring him back to a place where he is his right political mind. Right?
And then, of course, there is a repair of sorts that needs to be done in terms of the trust of the people, because the situation that happened between yourself and Mr. Augustine, that was very kind of sort of disappointing for a lot of people in Tobago who were looking forward to seeing you work together to take the island forward.
I am not certain that you have coined the phrase right, but I will say people are looking for confidence in the brand. And the confidence in the brand can only come about by us working together and achieving the mandate together that was placed upon us. At this late stage, not all of it can be achieved, but some big ticket issues can still be achieved. And I'm willing to work with him to achieve those big ticket issues if he's so like-minded. I'm not about personal things, you know what I mean? So we don't have to be friends. We don't have to be pallywals. Once we are able to understand that this is about Tobago, that's why we were elected, and put Tobago first, now I'm happy. Because that's why I'm in politics, to put Tobago first. I could have stayed there as Deputy Chief Secretary, and I could have fight them every day. And bet you me, they couldn't have moved me, not one of them. They call a no confidence vote, I would have filled Scarborough with people. It would have been a real old mass, fight and bacchanal down in town. But I didn't. I didn't have to show my strength. I simply took the exit. When they showed me the door, I didn't wait. I took the exit. I left. And from then to now, I've maintained soberness. I will comment on certain issues, but I've maintained soberness and I've maintained distance, giving him sufficient time and his team to show what they are capable of. If I'm to grade them on what they are capable of, they are not capable of fulfilling the mandate that was placed upon them. People in Tobago are disappointed in the level of commitment to the ideals they once spoke of. And so I'm saying, let's make an effort. If you all have an interest in political life and an interest in Tobago, let's do better. Because Tobago could have been in a better position now. It's about $7 billion spent. Where we are? Nowhere.
Now, you mentioned that there are some big ticket items that you think that this administration can still achieve. What are those?
One of those issues is self-determination. They are calling it by the wrong name, autonomy. Tobago does not want autonomy. Tobago never wanted autonomy. Even when those spoke of autonomy, they spoke of it because that's as far as they can see. But from day one, Tobago was a self-governing entity. Tobago had its own constitution, which came to an end and became a colonial system in 1876. And later on, they twin the islands Trinidad and Tobago as two colonies. And later on, they then make Tobago, which was a colony equal to Trinidad, subjective to Trinidad, as a ward. We continue to remain a ward. The Constitution Amendment Bill for Tobago self-government in the preamble speaks of Tobago being given the right to self-determination in the preamble. The preamble is the story before the story. But when the real story starts, they begin to enslave us by saying, you can make laws, but not laws for this. You have this, but you can't do that. And that is very much the same position we were in. Should that get into the Constitution, then we become slaves for life. So we have to be very careful what we choose. We do not want autonomy at all. Autonomy simply means some of our rights. We don't want some of our rights. We want all of our rights. Trinidad cannot tell Tobago what to do in Tobago, because certainly Tobago cannot tell Trinidad what to do in Trinidad. It's two separate islands with a separate history that must be united on issues of economy, issues of culture, issues of a social nature. But in so doing, they must allow each island to maintain its differences and appreciate the differences in each other. That's what we want. Do not try to whitewash and paint us out as if we have no history. That's my problem. And self-determination gives us the right that while we are in the relationship of Trinidad and Tobago, if there comes a time where Tobago does not like the way they're being treated, then we can say to Trinidad, look, I'm ready to trigger this self-determination, and whether by a referendum or by a vote of the assembly, and go on our own. That's always our right. As it is right now, we continue to be a ward under new terms. That's what they're doing. Autonomy is placing us back as a ward under new terms with the word ward removed from it. We do not want autonomy. We want self-determination, all our rights as an island, so we can finally develop on our own.
And then what about the other things that you mentioned? Because in lieu of us being able to get that self-determination situation sorted out, you know, what are the other things that you think that this administration can do, and then how can you help them achieve it?
Well, I'm one of the more prolific and I would say qualified negotiators in this country, and they simply have no negotiating skills that would bring them anything. I could recall that on my first trip to Florida, they had South Florida Wine and something festival, right? We would have spoken to an air flight operator who wants to bring planes to Trinidad. That is Secretary for Tourism and Culture, and myself, right? We have gone up with a team. And I, without even having the city of Roxborough in picture form, I sat and I spoke to the man. I said, look, we are designing a cargo port for planes in Roxborough. And when I explained it to him, before I reached down, I got in my email from that man an interest. He said, I'm interested. He said, I'm willing to spend 150,000 US to come down and do some exploration of this idea you have. And if it makes sense, I'm willing to enter into a memorandum of agreement or understanding, and we will build the airport. Cash. Under certain conditions. And I think it was good. When I went to Dubai also too, I have persons who are willing to come back here and develop Tobago. But when there is a fight, nobody invests. Anytime there's political instability, nobody would invest in a country. Whether that instability has been caused by civil society or it's been caused by politicians who are going at each other's throat, or it is being caused by trade unions. Once there's political instability, no one invests his money. A man hard-earned money is not something he plays with. And I try to avoid that by simply, when they showed me the door, I walk, because I didn't want to stand and fight them. It would have made sense. But when I walk as one man equaling 14 persons. I brought something to the table. So I'm saying, let's go back to that. Let's put pride aside, foolishness aside, and let's try and get foreign investors back. Let's try and get the Tobago self-determination on track, because we will not go anywhere. And if they sign on to that, that's slavery. And I'm going to make a lot of noise if anybody wants to accept that autonomy bill for a fistful of dollars. It makes no sense. When we have self-determination, we will determine for ourselves what is our budget. They can't tell us 9%. We will say if we want $5 billion, then that's what we're going to get. We're going to establish our own economic plan, systems, policies, etc. They can't make it in Trinidad and give it to us. When we have self-determination, Kandace, the 2 votes in Tobago will equal the 39 votes in Trinidad. Because unless we agree with a bill to become a law, then that bill doesn't affect us. There'll be respect for Tobago. That's what happens in the European Union. Every single country has to agree. If you don't agree, then those other countries in the European Union cannot force you to accept that. You must agree to that law for that law to become rooted in your country. I'm saying the time has come for Tobago's vote to mean something to Tobagonians. And unless we agree with a vote in Trinidad, it is not a Trinidad and Tobago bill. It's a Trinidad bill.
Now, in that meeting that you had with Chief Secretary Fali Augustine, was this matter discussed? Because we...
Self-determination?
Yes.
Of course.
And what was the response?
Well, I'm not able to say all of that because, but let's say we discussed that. It was a very broad meeting, a very comfortable meeting. We don't speak very often, and I try not to engage him too often. But when I think it's necessary, I would engage him. All right? And I would say, when I ask for a meeting, we normally have a meeting. And it was just a one-on-one meeting, a very simple meeting, and very casual and cool. No tension.
But how much does your view on self-determination differ from the Chief Secretary's view? Because we saw over the last few months the conversation about taking autonomy forward, taking that whole the idea of Tobago having what it needs to be able to govern itself. And, the documents that were sent down to Parliament, all of these things.
Well, I'll tell you this, right? I don't mean to tweet my own horn, but I've never heard anybody in Tobago space spoke of self-determination the way I speak of self-determination. People speak of autonomy. They want more rights. They want sea rights. They want this rights. We are saying we don't want all of that. What we want is our right to self-determination. What that means, Tobago will at all material times, all time, from the time the bill is passed, right, we will at all times have that right, whether by way of referendum or a majority vote in the assembly, to leave Trinidad and say, look, what you're doing is not what we want. We want this, and pursue our own course according to the people on Tobago. As it is right now, we cannot leave Trinidad. We continue to be a ward dressed up with a little 7%, dressed up with a little bit more miles in the sea. We do not want more clothes. What we want is a new relationship agreement that says, I could divorce you. I could leave you if I want to leave. And unless we have that right, and the right to form our own government among our own self within our own assembly, then we would be fighting a battle that will hurt a lot of people in years to come. And we have to not see the fruits now, but to see the continuation of good fruits.
Well, I want to just also ask you about just some of the things that are happening on the ground here in Tobago, and especially that of the Friendship Connector Road that continues to face blocks. Injunctions by the court and so on. Do you have any insight as to what's been happening there, and even how that situation should be handled?
I would want to say the Friendship Connector Road, as all roads in Tobago are important roads. All roads are important roads. But there is always something called priority. Priority is based on a list of important things, your list of to-do things. Yes, you want to do all, but which come first, the chicken or the egg? In this case, the connector would come first, or this come first. And I would say, per se, on the list of priorities for Tobago, the connector road is not a priority. All right? And I think that too much effort is going into spoiling the relationship between Trinidad and Tobago, which we need. because we are ward. As long as we are ward, we will need a good relationship with Trinidad, because we can't leave, we can't go anywhere, but we can be punished. So when you see the lack of support from Trinidad on the number of matters, which is a number of matters, we talk about the airline industry, the port, etc., and even crime, etc., it is because Trinidad is also rebelling. They're also pulling back and say, okay, you want to play, man? Go ahead, handle it. And we simply do not have what it takes to handle it. Right? This is why self-determination is so important. And also to prioritizing the issues based on the priority needs of Tobagonians are also important. Anytime a road is being developed, we must ask important questions. All right, how many farmers we have to go inside there, and what type of farms would they create? What type of business going inside there? Maybe what we call this water park, and what type of funding will this generate? What are the projections? In other words, when we cut this road, how much returns on our dollar will we get from that road? Every single road has to be evaluated in that manner. Whether people live inside that road, whether we have animals in that road, and I don't think that a proper cost analysis and cost-benefit analysis was done. It's a very good road. Every road is important, but it's a priority. I don't think that's a top priority among the needs of Tobago. And that's my personal view.
All right. Well, Mr. Duke, I just want to thank you for being on with us this morning. We are out of time for this interview, but I mean, we're definitely looking forward and to see how the situation develops, whether there will be some sort of cooperation between you and Mr. Augustine going forward, and, you know, how you will enter into the election campaign together or separate, depending on how the situation works.
I'll assure you, the PDP is coming with a bang. Big bang. Expect that.
All right, great. I want to thank you so much.
Thank you.
And viewers, please don't go anywhere. We have a lot more coming up for you after the break.
Let's go. It's a brand new morning. Rise up to a brand new